On this episode of Sauce and Hensch, we discuss the Chicago Bulls and Vincent Jackson.
And to add to that, we're going to preview both the Cubs and the Sox on this episode of Sauce and Hensch.
And we are back on Sauce and Hensch, and we're doing it remotely again, thanks to COVID. But this time, you're right down the hall from me.
Sauce is this way, people. He's that way. If you're watching the video, he's down the hall in his room. I'm currently in the study room here to study, not school. I know I'm a student first, but we're studying some sports today, people. That's what we're doing.
You got your stats. I got my stats today.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be fun. I mean, my other favorite S word is sports, obviously.
Yes. When do we not have fun on this podcast?
Exactly.
Seriously.
Exactly. You know, your roommate Keegan was actually telling me the other day he enjoys listening to us because we always just make him smile because we always just have a fun time on this, and I have to agree with him. We have too much fun.
Too much fun, but passionate fun. That's actually I wouldn't say it's too much fun to the fact where we're blind. So I feel like I'm pretty intellectual when it comes to sports and stuff.
Exactly.
But we put a fun twist with the intellectual side of it.
Right.
So.
Well, as we previewed the Bulls, we're going to be talking about the Bulls today. And tonight they play on primetime for the first time all year, I believe it is, against the Philadelphia 76ers.
Is this on TNT?
ESPN.
I was going to say, TNT Bulls, though. Oh, buddy.
They beat the Sixers on primetime 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I believe that was TNT.
If you look at our TNT stats, you can start to preview whatever it is. I just want to hit on that before I forget about it. But our TNT stats, everybody call it the TNT Bulls. If you're a Bulls fan, you know what I'm talking about. Is our TNT record is ungodly. It's such a weird stat, but it's so ungodly good that almost on any time, no matter who we have on our team, for some reason we win anytime we play on TNT. I don't know why it is, but.
Well, I know on the TNT game against the Heat, John Lucas went off against LeBron's Heat. Yes.
That was payback for when he got dunked over by him.
Yeah, on the alley-oop. I remember that.
I remember that vividly, and going to school the next day and everybody saying, what the heck? Hey, the first article that pops up, the TNT Bulls are the NBA's best dynasty.
There we go. That's the headline we want to see.
Here it is. This is on back in 2018. The stat was last compiled. The Chicago Bulls back in 2018 had won 20 straight home TNT games. Some impressive and bizarre, most compelling stat ever. 20 straight games on TNT. The Bulls won. That started back in 2013. So.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty weird stat, but.
In 2013 was about the decline of that team because that's when Derrick Rose really. That was the first year we didn't have D Rose, right? Because the 2012 season. He got hurt in the playoffs.
Oh, what do you mean? We traded him in 2016.
Right, but that was like the decline of that Bulls team because when Derrick Rose got hurt, that was more the beginning of the end.
True, which is also the kind of shows the uniqueness of that stat. That no matter who was playing on the Bulls, for some reason on TNT, we won. So
let's put them under lights all the time, and we might be bringing home a Larry O'Brien trophy, but. We know that can't happen.
Yeah.
We're just happy to have the one. But, Joe, you and I have these stats in front of us. We have individual stats and then the team stats.
Yes.
Let's start with the individual stats.
Sounds good with me.
What number stands out to you the most that's not named Zach LaVine?
Oh,
I had one that I highlighted. I didn't know he was doing this good until I saw his numbers stick out.
For me, I think it's impressive anytime a rookie that's not the best player are expected to have the most most touches on the team. You can take into consideration the Hornets or I don't know why Anthony Edwards from the Timberwolves. Right. They're going to have the ball in their hands a lot more than Pat is. But for him to have average 10.1 points at this time with not really being the number one option, maybe the third or fourth option is pretty impressive to me. So 10.1, and for him to be in the double figures as a rookie at 19 years old is pretty impressive for me. I'm interested to hear what stat's going to jump off the page for you. You didn't. What was it for you, Sauce?
Well, just to clarify, Zach LaVine, we'll rave about him at the end of this segment
Oh yeah.
of the team of player stats. We just need more time to highlight more of the lesser Bulls that named Zach LaVine. The one that stood out to me was Lauri Markkanen.
Okay. Yeah, I have his.
19.1 points.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was averaging almost 20 points until he got hurt.
Yeah.
I know he was having some big games, but I didn't realize he was doing this good and this consistently.
He answered the bell. We talked about it. I mean, so far as answered the bell, we talked about it in our season preview. Obviously, he's only had 14 games played. It says on here, right?
Yes, yeah, 14.
So 13 less than LaVine, but I mean, in that span, man, if he can stay healthy, that's always been the question. I just hope he can stay healthy because he's showing that he's asking what we asked of him, which is the fact of not staying behind the arc, but when he does stay in the arc, looks confident when he's stroking it. He's driving it to the lane and being aggressive and using his body frame, and I think that's a huge positive for him as long as he can stay healthy. So I definitely agree with that stat as well. Another unsung – sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. His 2-point percentage is a 655. When you're 7 foot and you're getting guarded by power forwards, attack the lane. And that's what we discussed in the first Bulls podcast of this year was, Lauri Markkanen has the tools to be a 20-point scorer.
Yes.
But it's just utilize him properly. When you have a Jim Boylan that tells him to stand in the corner and shoot threes, you're not utilizing him properly. That's not – He's 7 foot.
Yeah.
He's a 7 foot power forward. You're not going to tell him, all right, you got to shoot threes. Dirk Nowitzki did not consistently shoot threes. He put in the post and hit some of the best fadeaways since Jordan and Kobe.
Absolutely. They listened to our podcast. He went and listened to our. We've said that. That's right. The third or fourth time I've said that. Markkanen said, man, Sauce and Hensch are right. I just cannot be constantly shooting the ball. Got to use my frame. I'm over 7 foot tall. And the numbers speak to it on this stat sheet right here. So
well, then Billy Donovan, avid listener, is going, hey, you know what? They're right. I'm going to set Lauri Markkanen up to attack the lane.
Yeah, it's. I'm glad they listened to us. It's good stuff. But the other name I was going to bring up that he's an unsung hero, man. I love watching him play. I don't know how much longer his tenure is going to be with us, but I just think he brings so much to the Bulls roster with our young guys. Is Thagic.
I knew you were going to say Thagic.
Calls him.
I was waiting for you to say
as Stacey calls him, Thagic Young. He's averaging 11.6 points. 11.2 points right now with 5.8 rebounds and 4.4 assists. The man, he just calms the young guys down, and it's there's those good guys to have because this team, like we talked about at the beginning of the season, there's no expectations to go win a Larry O'Brien trophy. There's an expectation for growth, and in every game you see the learning curves, but you also see the strides that the team has taken within a year under guys like Billy Donovan, obviously, but also by having teammates like Garrett Temple and Thaddeus Young and Thomas Sadorinsky on those teams and Otto Porter, that veteran group that helps this younger squad of Kobe White, Lauri Markkanen, and Patrick Williams. Those young guys develop into the team that we expect them to be. So that's Thagic is a huge part for me for this team. That he may not be averaging 28 points like Zach LaVine, but you bet your butt that he is definitely a huge part of helping these young guys develop.
You know what I bet is that somewhere along the road that Thagic Young is finally going to get that triple-double.
Yes.
I think my favorite moment of this year is when he went 13-8-8, and I forgot who the Bulls won against that day. But he gets on the mic, and the first thing he says is, I can't get this GD triple-double.
Yes.
And I just broke out laughing. I was like, that's just a veteran that is just enjoying himself playing for this team.
Yeah.
And sweet mate Pat, Pacer fan, knew all about Thaddeus Young. And there was a moment in the game where Thaddeus went to shoot a three, and we both went, no, because we know that he's not the best three-point shooter, but I love his utility. And if you look at his splits for the month of February, he's insane. He's a triple-double machine. He got 36 minutes a game like Zach LaVine does. But I'll give you one more. Since you got two, I'll give you one more. This is maybe the most unsung Bulls player there is, and his name is Wendell Carter Jr.
I like that.
WCJ. And I'll tell you, you can't see this. I found these stats. I had to dig deep for this. The Bulls with Wendell Carter this year are 8-8. Without, they're 4-7. They lost 4 of 6 and 7 of 10 without Wendell Carter. But also, you could throw in like, okay, Laurie's not there and Otto's not playing.
Yeah.
Like that. But here's why I say this. Julius Randle had 27 points against the Bulls. Vucevic torched us for 43 and 19. And then the Wizards had 36 free throw attempts in a game we lost by Zach LaVine just missing a layup. This is the kind of stuff you have to know, that because like you can look at these stats all day long, like okay, this is what he scores, this is how many rebounds, but what can he bring to a team that's not stat oriented?
Yes.
The Bulls were 14th in rebounding with Wendell. They dropped down to 28th in rebounds without Wendell. They were 6th in free throw attempts with 23.9. Dipped down to 30th with 16.2 after he went out.
Wow.
And then he comes back, first game coming back, he shuts down Domantas Sabonis in an overtime game for 25 and 10, which you can say, okay, that's a good game. But he shot 7 of 19, which is 36.8%. So, yeah, Wendell Carter is pretty vital to this Bulls team. I think you would agree with me.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and you definitely see how much of an I love dating Gafford just because.
Yes.
I mean, he may not be the
Bobby
most
Porter's 2.0.
yeah, the most well-rounded basketball player is not a word that you would use for Daniel Gafford. I love the kid though, but Wendell just can do so many things on a basketball court that doesn't involve putting the ball in the hoop. He can do that sometimes too when he wants to, but so many things vitally on a team that you need besides putting the ball in the hoop, and he checks a lot of those boxes. So I totally agree with you.
I'll throw one more stat at you before we dip into Zach LaVine, and it's, did you know that the Bulls have the tallest team in the NBA?
Tallest?
Yeah, they have the tallest team.
Really? I did not know that.
But yeah, Satoransky, he's 6'7" for a guard. Cornette is 7'2", I think they listed him as. Laurie, 7 foot. Wendell, 6'10", and I know Felicio falls in there. I don't think we play with our tallest guys, but we're listed as the tallest team in the league.
Wow. I did not know that.
It is what it is.
That's an interesting stat.
All right, so let's dip into the all-star that is Mr. Zach LaVine.
Man.
I think every time I watch him, I get more and more amazed. He hit that 1-3 over Sabonis, and I felt bad because Pat was in here watching it with me, but I didn't care because that was one of the best three-pointers I had ever seen made.
He makes everything, not to bring one guy. I listened to an interview the other day with Tim Anderson, best shortstop in Chicago. But anyway, he was talking about Zach LaVine on the interview and was like, man, he is just cold and is just so smooth with everything he does. When you try to teach someone what a jump shot is, you should look up his jump shot and show Zach LaVine's jump shot to whoever you're trying to teach because of how clean his form is.
Exactly.
Like, he just makes everything the most – he's going 110 miles per hour on the court, but it makes it look like he's going like 20 miles per hour just because of how smooth he is. Everything he does. My favorite move is when he does a step-back three-pointer. It's like –
Yes.
He makes it a shot that most people would be if you're not seeing the video, most people would have to chuck it up like that because it's so far. He's just easy step back stroking it like it's nothing. He makes everything look so smooth, man. It's art. It's poetry to watch him play basketball. I absolutely love it.
And he finished, 4th in Eastern Conference guards for voting All-Stars, so he won't be a starter this year, but he should be in no matter what. Because let me throw this at you. I dug deep for Zach LaVine because if he's going to do this for the Bulls, he only deserves me to give my time and give him the recognition he deserves. He has a career high in points, assists, rebounds, defensive rebounds, offensive rebounds, 3-point percentage, 2-point percentage, 3-pointers made, free throw percentage, and field goal percentage. He has 10 20-point games, 11 30-point games, which is 4th in the league, only behind Damian Lillard, Bradley Beal, and Steph Curry, and he's tied for 2nd and 40-point games with 2 this year. Last
Tell you
5
what, you
games,
just highlight his whole freaking stat line.
Oh, yeah. Except for turnovers. That's the only thing I'd ever have against him. But it is what it is. Last 5 games, 34.8 points, 6.4 rebounds, 4.8 assists, 4.8 3-pointers made with 8.8 3-pointers attempted. That's a 54.3 3-point percentage. And the Bulls have won 3-2 in those 5 games. Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, keep it going. I like that.
All right. This month alone in February, 31.6 points, 5.9 rebounds, 5.1 assists, 53.5 field goal percentage, a 48.5 3-point percentage. He's 4th in scoring and 2nd in the Eastern Conference, only behind the MVP candidate, that is Joel Embiid, who has 32.9 points. He's ranked 6th in points this year, 24th in 3-point percentage. He's 10th in 3-point attempted, 6th in 3-pointers made, and 28th in field goal percentage. I need a drink.
While you're taking that drink, I think you perfectly described to what everybody, for some reason, wants that out of Chicago. For some reason, everybody. Anytime I still look, it's always what trade should we trade Zach LaVine for? I mean,
and did I mention he's ranked somewhere in the top 3 in fourth quarter points? I couldn't find that stat somewhere, but I know Stacey King and Double A were talking about it the other day.
But for some reason, it still blows my mind how people would want him off the Chicago Bulls roster, because he's a stud, man.
Like, he's having a career year.
Yes, and it's only gotten, like, he goes year by year, he gets better and better. And the other stat, I don't know if you mentioned, you probably did. I mean, we listed off everything about him. Is he's averaging 1.1 steals per game too. Added with all those offensive numbers that he has, his one caveat that everybody would always say is, what about his defense? Well, he's averaging over a steal a game this year, and is locking up. So you watch a lot of our games that we're playing. The one game that always comes to my mind, I know I mentioned on one of our podcasts, was one of the early games of the year, is 1-point game, one of the best scorers in the game, in Bradley Beal, takes it to the lane. Zach stays his ground, keeps in front of him, both arms up, and blocks the shot, and the Bulls win the game.
You know what? And I was trying to think of what game that was. I remember him doing that, and I'm glad you brought it up, because I totally forgot which game it was. Improvement
at every single portion of his games. Like you said, career high, and then a career high in defensive numbers as well. So he's taken leaps forward to make himself one of the best shooting guards in the NBA. No question.
I think my favorite part about Zach LaVine this year is, with MJ, when he was young, it was, I need to score because I know no one else can. I'm the best player out there. But LaVine, for a while there, he wasn't being aggressive. He was trying to distribute the ball and let these other guys get some. And I think one day Billy Donovan just goes, Zach, you are the best player we have. Be confident. Go out and score. Like, yeah, you can get assists and stuff, but I need you to score consistently if we're going to win.
Yeah. And that's – the Bulls haven't had a play – and, I mean, I'm going to bring – I love Jimmy G. Buckets. Love him. But I will skip over him and venture to say we haven't had a player like Zach LaVine that has carried a team like this since Derrick Rose did when he won since his MVP season, to where it was legit, like you just said, you're the best player on the team, go out and get yours. That's how I view Zach LaVine on this team, is like, hey, you're the best player on the team, go out and get yours, Zach. That's how it was with Derrick Rose, and that's how it is with Zach LaVine right now. He's the clear-cut best player on this team. Now the special thing about it is also one of the things listed on here, the stat line, it's not really a stat, is Zach LaVine's only 25 freaking years old. So he's 25 years old, and that gives you time to develop around guys who are also the next 3 listed after him. Kobe White, 20 years old. Lauri Markkanen, 23 years old. Patrick Williams, 19 years old. So all those guys are going to start to come into their own, is where Zach's really starting almost at his own already. And once those guys all really start to come into their own, then that pressure that Derrick Rose always had on his career and never went off his shoulders of having to be that guy is going to come off Zach LaVine's shoulders.
Exactly.
And then everything's going to come. It'll make him an even better player. So
You say that Levine and Rose. I could see glimpses of Zach Levine being a Derrick Rose with how they
Yeah,
play. Just
because of how
athletic.
fast they are, how
Exactly.
fast and athletic they are, but
And
how smooth they make
the
it.
game look so easy
Easy. Yes.
sometimes.
Hmm.
But the only difference between the two, and I'm not going to go out and say that Zach Levine's better than Derrick Rose. I'm not saying this, but
Their jump
Levine is a
shots.
much better shooter
Oh,
than Derrick
hands
Rose
down.
ever was when he was in a Bulls
Yes,
uniform. He didn't
hands
really get a
down.
jump shot till he got to Minnesota, and he went off for that 50 burger
Hmm.
against Utah, a team that just outright released him, didn't even play him. I'm still waiting for that Zach Levine 50 burger. I want one. I mean, they got really close in the Pelicans game with 46 points, and I was tasting it. I was like, oh man, a Zach Levine 50 burger sounds
Yes.
really good right now. Because
Yes.
I was told, I'm not going to say names, that the Bulls were going to get blown out against the Pelicans, and it didn't happen. So I'm just putting that out there. But we didn't even get to cover that. That was a thriller of a game, hitting 25 threes,
Yes.
and you have Levine hitting, what was it, 9 threes or 10 threes, somewhere in that frame, and Kobe White was at 8 or 9. It was the first time ever that a duo hit 8 3-pointers apiece, which I was shocked by that because I thought for sure Steph and Clay would be on that list.
Yeah. That's weird. I never heard. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I would have
that's
thought the
what
same thing.
that's what Stacey King said immediately after I said it. So they must have been bugging my dorm room too. But
God Almighty, we got to get that figured out.
yeah, we do. We really do. All right, so let's flip the page. Well, I got to flip the page to the Bulls' offensive stats. And you know what? Being ranked 10th sounds really nice in
Yes.
scoring this year.
Yeah, that's what we've been promised and since we fired Tibbs and said we're hiring Fred Hoiberg for his offensive mentality and we're going to be in the top 10 offensively. The Bulls have been wondrously searching for that for years. So to finally have found what seems like what's clicking is nice.
Right. You know, 114.6 points. We're 8th in assists, 7th in three-point percentage, 8th in field goal percentage, and 6th in field goals made. The offense is getting their shots in. That's just it's that simple. We're moving the ball around, getting the open shots. We're not casting up threes like we were doing with Jim Boylan. And to give you a reference, Joe, on how big of a difference that is in points, last year, this year we were 10th. This year we're 10th. Last year, we were 27th in scoring with 106.8 points.
Wow. Wow.
You really did a good job there, Jim Boylan, didn't you?
Jimmy boy. We love you.
But,
Not really.
The only issue I'm seeing, Joe, on the offensive numbers is turnovers. We got to cut down on the turnovers. It's simple.
Which plays into exactly what I just mentioned 2 seconds ago and what we mentioned on a podcast way earlier when you mentioned that our average age was younger than a college basketball team. I forget.
Wisconsin. University of Wisconsin.
And that's the stat that directly correlates with age is these guys are young. They're learning a new system with a new head coach. And those are things that will come along. I would be more scared. I'm more at ease with us being in top 10 of offensive numbers with those turnovers. I'd be more scared if I looked and they weren't competing at all and just weren't buying into a system. They're buying into Billy's system. So that makes me feel fine that turnovers is the most key stat that we have to worry about. They'll fix it along the road. That's something that they'll clean up. So that's not something that really jumps out and really scares me. That's just something I'm not going to sit here and say I projected the exact stat of how many turnovers they have, but that's something to come expected with a young team like that.
Right. Like I said, usually people say numbers don't lie, but you have to look at these numbers, and numbers tell a story. And that's what you're trying to get at, I think, is that, yeah, we have a high amount of turnovers, but we're in a new system. We're the youngest team in the NBA. Well, maybe 3 of the youngest teams in the NBA. I'm not exactly sure, but we're younger than University of Wisconsin basketball team. So, of course, this was going to be some learning curves and some speed bumps along the road. We're at 16.3 turnovers a game. The only team that is lower than us is the Miami Heat with 16.5. But you know what? If the Bulls can cut down the turnovers and get more shots, and as we've seen, if they get the shots, they go in. because we
Yeah.
move the ball around a lot better than we ever did under Jim Boylan, and we're getting these open looks and percentages going up. And if we cut down the turnovers, the Bulls will be in the playoffs, and that's what our goal is going into the year. I said they were going to be 6 games below 500, and as of this podcast before the Philadelphia 76ers game, they are 3 games below 500. So I'll take that.
Yes.
And we'll do one more look around on the opposing stats against the Bulls, and this one really tells a story. It's strange. You know, we 9th in 3-pointers percentage against the Bulls, which it's 9th best. So that's how you gotta look at this. But field goal percentage against the Bulls is 23rd. One of the worst.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this. We're first in offensive rebounds allowed. So we don't allow a lot of offensive rebounds. And we allow 8.7 steals, which is 29th. And we get we're 9th in blocks against us. And we allow 115.4 points, which is 26th in the NBA. When I look at this, Joe, the first thing that came to my mind is the turnovers. We're allowing easy transition buckets, and that's why the field goal percentage is so much higher than 3-point percentage. If we get our feet set, the defense is pretty solid. We are 29th in points off turnovers. The Heat, again, last in that stat. They allow 20.6. We allow 19.6. So if we, clean up the turnovers, the Bulls will be an unstoppable force the rest of the year.
I absolutely agree. And it may not be something, obviously, we'd love nothing more than to sit here and be recording a podcast however many months down the road and say that all those turnovers were fixed and the Bulls went on to go to the Eastern Conference Finals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, that might be something to where they keep developing the rest of this year. They might not totally clean it up. There might be some games that look good, a stretch of games that look bad, that sort of thing for the rest of the season, and maybe something that turns over into the next season. That's when it gets cleaned up, that sort of thing. Because if you look at like you said, those stats, they tell a story. And the story for the Bulls season is we're in all reality, for us to be only 3 games under 500 with our turnover numbers is insane.
Exactly.
Insanely good. Because if we turned up half of those turnover numbers, we're probably sitting 5 or 6. Because there's multiple games that I can sit there and be like, if we limited the turnovers, we're winning. And we're probably sitting here if we cleaned up those turnovers from the start of the season, or at least half of them, we're probably sitting here 5 or 6 games above 500 right now.
Exactly.
So with the turnover numbers, for me, I think that's the most impressive stat for me, is that our record is only 3 games below 500 with what our turnovers have been. Because that's what have costed us games.
You look at the Heat, and they're 6 games below 500.
Yeah.
They're 11.
They were NBA Finals last year.
They're the defending Eastern Conference champions, and right now they can't get anything going for them. Jimmy Butler's getting triple doubles, and I'm pretty sure they're still losing. I know they won yesterday against the Kings, and Bam and Jimmy both had triple doubles, but it is what it is. But to be 8th in assists and 29th in turnovers tells me that the Bulls are moving the ball around. It just maybe they want to set up another teammate so badly that they force one.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm okay with them trying to move the ball around.
I'm more okay with them.
That.
Yeah,
exactly.
learn the lesson in a game this year, because we can afford to do that this year. It'd be different if we came in this year, NBA Finals or bust, that sort of thing, and we're making these mistakes. All these guys are young, new system, new coach. Make these mistakes now, learn from it, and go into next year's and clean them up.
I 110% agree with you. And I have this last one that's, again, it's this year's Bulls versus last year's Bulls, but we'll cover that at a different time. I feel like that's more of a comparison for the end of the year situation, or we get
Sounds good.
What was it, 65 games they played last year? Yeah, 65.
Yeah.
And because I really want to get into this next one, and that's previewing the Chicago White Sox, which are representing very well today.
I have all week, man. Pitchers and catchers.
Cubs. Arrieta back, my favorite player. I think we should allow the South Side to go first, because you guys have way higher expectations. It would be way more exciting to hear what you have to say about your White Sox.
Ah,
Um,
dude.
but the first question I want to ask you, Joe, I told you this. Why is everyone sleeping on Jose Abreu and TA? What is going on with this? I don't get this phenomenon that's going on in the baseball social media world.
You guys have heard me and my dad's podcast about this, and he's told me that was a question that I asked since I was a young kid. Even when the Sox won the World Series in 2005, it's like everybody automatically forgot about us in 2006. It's like 2005 never even happened. And even when I was young, I realized, Dad, why aren't we on ESPN? Why aren't the Sox on here? Why aren't the Sox on this? Son, that's just how it is. The Cubs can have no matter what record it is, but they will always be king in Chicago for some reason. And for some reason, the Sox are just always casted aside when it comes to the MLB. We just had the freaking MVP of the American League, and everybody just forgets about him. Tim Anderson just won the batting title the year prior and was in contention with it till the final week, and is somehow the 10th best shortstop ranked on MLB Network's top 10 shortstops. How is he 10, man? Come on. There's no way there's 9 guys that are better than Tim Anderson at shortstop. No way. No way. But it's just a thing that has been a thing for the Sox ever since they were created as a franchise, and I've been taught that and have accepted it from my dad ever since I got into Sox fandom when I was a young kid. Is that's just how it is. And you know what? I've grown used to it and accustomed to it, and I've adopted it. I've more love it now that the fact of you rank Tim Anderson 10th best shortstop in the AL, and he'll just go out and win another batting title, and we'll show you.
They ranked him 10th in the AL out of 15.
10th in the MLB. My bad.
Okay. I was like 10 out of 15. That's ridiculous.
No.
10 out of 30. That's not too bad. But yeah, they're still really undercutting TA.
Yeah. You go ahead and rank our dudes there. But we'll show you when the season comes. Just like Abreu this year. Yeah. He in 2020, nobody expects Abreu to do anything. But then he wins the MVP, and for that short glimpse of however many months it was when he was awarded the MVP, people looked at his stats and like, dang, he's been doing this for a while. Yeah,
exactly.
We've told you he's been doing this for a while. We told you he's batted 330 bombs and 100 RBIs for however many seasons since he's been in the league. Come on, man. But anyway, I've grown accustomed to it, and I still haven't come to the reason why people don't realize it, but I think people are going to start having to realize it when we get to the playoffs however many years in a row. And the one statistic that actually did just come out the other day to where we actually did get recognized and I think opened some eyes. The rankings may not have been the best exactly where the players were. I still don't agree with when Jose Abreu is ranked the 31st best player in the MLB. I think he should be higher considering he just won MVP. But we had 9 players in the top 100 MLB players out of all MLB players. The top 100 MLB players, the White Sox had 9, which was the most in the MLB, which I think opened some eyes to some people. Oh, wow. Yeah. The Sox have not even say that, 3 out of those 9 were our top 3 pieces of our rotation, Giolito, Keuchel, and Lynn. So if that speaks anything about our rotation that I think people are sleeping on as well. So that I was pretty happy with that stat, even though I would have ranked Abreu higher than 31. I still think that even though he just won MVP, he's still underappreciated for what the dude has done. But anyway, that's just long-winded to answer your question. I think it's just a thing that has gone on and will continue. The Sox could win 5 straight World Series and they'd still be like, I don't think the White Sox are that good. That's what I could still see happening. I just have grown accustomed to it. My dad has always said it's been like that. So I will tell my son or daughter the same thing is get used to it. But hey, it makes it a heck of a lot more fun when a player wins MVP or when a player wins a batting title or when the White Sox win the World Series. It makes it a whole lot better, a whole lot sweeter that you knew the whole time what sleeping giant was about to arise, while everybody else was just kind of like, you've been in a rebuild since 2005. Yeah, when you say, we're coming to the tail end of our rebuild. Oh, you've been rebuilding since 2005. No, actually, only for the past 4 years, and you're about to see the fruits of what the rebuild has been. Now that we have all these players locked up and free agents added to them. So
even then, Jose Abreu had his best year last year, and they're still undercutting them. Oh, the shortened season. Oh, Jose Ramirez should have won it. Jose Ramirez the guy missed games this year. And, yeah, he had some good games, but Jose Abreu was driving in runs.
He averaged an
Crazy
RBI
to
a
watch
game.
him.
He averaged an RBI a
Yeah,
game.
it was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. I was like, this guy is just working the gaps, and he has the speed in front of him, and they're coming around, flying around the bases, and they're just scoring runs. Simple as that. And you know what? He deserved that MVP.
Here's
no
I'll
argument.
give him
There's no argument against that.
No, and I'll give him my last because Abreu's a guy that I could dive into like we just did with Zach LaVine. Like I could spit out numbers at you about Abreu all day. He is easily one of my favorite players in the White Sox history just because he has that mentality of like, I don't care what people say. I'm going to go about my business and just do it and be that blue-collared White Sox player that has been a first baseman bloodline of Frank Thomas, Paul Konerko, and now him of that. But one thing that should be scary to the rest of the MLB is Abreu had his best season last year in a shortened season, and he's been putting up good numbers his whole career, almost a 300 batting average with 30-plus home runs and 100 RBIs over his career as a season. And this year would have been his best year yet after having all those stats. And I think that, and I know it's because for the first time in his career, the dude has legit protection around him, which makes him a 10 times scarier, man. Like that makes Jose Abreu such a better hitter because he doesn't have to go and chase pitches anymore because he has a guy that nobody's ever heard of hitting behind him anymore. Like he felt like he had that on his shoulders beforehand where it's like, man, even if it's out of the zone, I have to swing at it because if I don't, that run's not getting knocked in. As for this year, he could be even more selective, which leads to 19 home runs in the shortened season that we had and a 300-plus batting average in the shortened season we had. Those stats directly come from having protection around you, having guys like Eloy Jimenez, Yoan Moncada, Tim Anderson, Grandal, all the Luis Robert, all those guys protected around you to where crap. It was where years in the past to where, okay, I can pitch them around Abreu to get to whoever the heck is next. God, we've had a lot of whoever the heck is next that are ugly names. But now it's like, oh, if I don't pitch to Abreu here, I got Eloy Jimenez, who's right behind him. I got Luis Robert, who's right behind him. I got Yasmani Grandal, who's right behind him. Like, they can't do that anymore, which makes Jose 10 times more dangerous via the MVP that he had last year.
I can't agree with you more. I've done my fair share of White Sox arguing on social media, defending them, because I may be a Cubs fan.
See, that's where real Cubs fans come in. Like, I appreciate that.
People are like, one guy said to me, "You're from Chicago. Why does that matter?" I said, because I appreciate good baseball when I see it. I'm not going to undercut Jose Abreu for what team he plays for. That doesn't make any sense. That's like me saying Paul Goldschmidt, the terrible first baseman, because he plays for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah.
That's not the case. I hate him because he tears us up. Yeah, you can hate a guy for tearing your team up, but at the end of the day, you hate greatness because it's not on your team.
Yes. I was just talking to somebody today about one guy that I've always loved, and I love even more now is Francisco Lindor. I've always loved Lindor, and now that he's out of the division, I can like him even more. So, exactly. But that's exactly what you're saying. I appreciate that you can, because there's not many Cubs fans that can sit here and say that, and there wasn't many Sox fans that can sit there when you guys were good, and I was sitting there saying the same thing. Like a player that like I'll bring to mind is Wilson Contreras. Yeah. No matter how much he would tear us apart in the games that we played him or whatever, Contreras, I always said that Contreras was a stud, man. Like, you just have to appreciate greatness no matter where it is. Yeah. And for a Cubs fan to do that to a Sox player, I appreciate you doing that because there's not many people out there that would do that, which shows that you understand the game. And that's the difference between fans and fans that don't know what the heck's going on and just speak out the other end of the human body. But anyway.
All right, so here's a couple. All right, just point out some main points about what the White Sox did this offseason. Yeah. And what your expectations are heading into the year. Because I have my expectations for the White Sox. We're supposed to be doing a baseball preview, just overall baseball preview on Monday. So this is kind of a glimpse of what we're going to be talking about.
Absolutely.
What do you expect coming out of the White Sox with all the offseason moves they made this winter?
I I fully expect a couple predictions in the fact that you're going to have a really, really good rotation. Giolito,
Yes.
Keuchel, Lynn, and then you have options with the new pitching coach of Dylan Cease and words yesterday. The two guys I want to hit on, Dylan Cease and Michael Kopech, quotes from Yasmani Grandal saying this guy can be a Cy Young candidate, alluding to Dylan Cease, and Tony La Russa saying Michael Kopech is electric and will absolutely help this team. So having a guy like Cease and Kopech at the end of your rotation is incredible. So first off, you have a rotation. The other prediction that I have is you're going to have my it's going to sound opinionated, but because I'm a Sox fan, but anyway, I think you're going to have the best bullpen in the whole entire MLB on the south side of Chicago. Talking to in additions is you have Liam Hendrick added to a bullpen of Aaron Bummer, Cody Hoyer, Garrett Crochet, Matt Foster, Evan Marshall. Good luck. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
And then lastly is you just have a well-balanced lineup, which we had last year. And if it stays healthy, it's well-balanced from top to bottom to where your 9-hole hitter and Nick Madrigal is a guy who last year, another guy that I love. If you look at his stats are so quirky. He bat on 2 strike counts last year, had the highest batting average in the MLB of 320 with a 2-strike count. The dude hit better with 2 strikes. The dude hit better with 2 strikes. As a rookie, batted 330, I think. He's a guy who can just hit. He flat out can hit, and he's 9-hole in the lineup. So 1 through 9, you have a lineup to where it's so well balanced with speed, power, everything. My last 2 predictions is the Sox will win the division. That's just a sneak peek. I won't give you where I think the Sox are going to go or anything, but
I agree with you on White Sox winning the division.
The last is watch out for a full season of Luis Robert because he gave a sneak peek of what he could do last year. As a rookie, won the Gold Glove in the American League. So he gave a sneak peek of what he could do last year, but watch out for a full season of that guy because he is going to be special. He's going to be very, very special. But so a sneak peek into that is definitely, I think the Sox are going to win the division. And I won't say how far until our projections, but that's just a sneak peek. I'm the most excited. I'm excited for every Sox season, but God, man, this is the most excited I've been in so long for a White Sox season. I'm so unbelievably excited.
There's a difference between I'm excited for baseball, and then there's a difference between here we go. We're gonna have a great year. That was me in 2016. That was so me in 2016, 5 years ago. Going, it's time. Like this is the year we're finally gonna be.
It's just it makes it so much better when they're players that like you experienced in 2016, players that you have gone through stuff with for the past 4.5 years, watching them from single A to now going after a World Series championship. Or like a guy like Lucas Giolito, watching him have the worst ERA in the league to now top of the rotation saying, let's go get a GD ring. Like, and you have guys at shortstop like Tim Anderson, I just want to go out and whoop MFers' butts every freaking day. Like, that's what I want, man. That gets me pumped, baby. Anyway.
It's time to win. It's time to win on the South Side. All my friends are Sox fans. It's not even fair anymore. I have like one Cubs fan. That's it. I need to branch out to the north side, but I've laughed at some of the stuff that you guys have been through because I was just like, I've been there. I've seen what that's like. When your team is called the Lovable Losers, you get kind of used to losing.
Yeah.
So
but anyway, I've gone on my rant about the exciting season, so let's let you slap on the north side hat and hear what you got to tell to me. So my first question to you would be along the same lines you asked me. What is let's flip the scenario because I mean in the past years, 2016, 2017, 2018, it's been the Cubs at the top of the news stories. Everybody was always talking to the Cubs, ESPN, MLB Network. It was always what's going on at Cubs training camp. Who are the Cubs adding? What are the Cubs doing? Joe Madden, what's he doing crazy in the locker room? Now the roles have reversed to where there ain't much Cup news out there. What's going on the north side?
Well, I had this conversation with my mom yesterday. She's been a Cub fan since the 1980s, before the lights. Her favorite player was Rick Sutcliffe. She told me that she's watched Ryan Sandberg, Andre Dawson. And I'm watching this Cubs news, and I'm seeing all these different names. And Jock Peterson. Then you had, who else did we sign? Austin Romine, Jake Marisnick, Zach Davies we traded for. We signed Trevor Williams, and we signed Brandon Workman. And I told my mom, I was like, when training camp comes around, we're just going to have to put name tags on them so we know who's who. It's that bad. But, I'm glad that Hoyer went in a direction. I'm glad he just didn't do – because you agree with me that for a while there, the White Sox didn't know what direction they're going to be in.
Absolutely.
And, that's why I said to Matt, because I remember him and I having that conversation. I said, I just want Hoyer to take the team and go in a direction. And I also forgot to mention we traded Darvish and Caratini. But we lost a lot of players, two of them being John Lester and Kyle Schwarber and Tyler Chatwood. Now Moore is gone. We got Pedro Strop back. Congratulations. But our offense was abysmal last year. We had one of the best fielding teams in baseball. Easy. We won the first NL Gold Glove as a team. But our batting average was 27th in the league, 18th OBP, and 20th in runs. We weren't producing at the plate. And our bullpen is mediocre. It's okay. We were 25th in walks allowed, and you can't have that in a bullpen. But our starting rotation was great. But now we're heading into this year, and we only retained two guys. And that's Hendricks and Mills. Now we have Davies in there, Trevor Williams, and Jake Arrieta. And my number one prediction, is that the Cubs are going to lead the MLB in putouts from groundouts. Because you had Hendricks finish second in the league, Davies with 14th with San Diego last year, and Alec Mills was 19th. My second prediction is that the Cubs are going to have the lowest velocity by a starting rotation because – Trevor Williams and Arrieta don't throw hard either.
Yeah.
And my third prediction is that the Cubs are going to finish third in the NL Central. I'll say this. They'll finish behind the Cardinals and the Brewers, but I won't tell you what order they're in. For me this year, it's more of, okay, is Chris Bryant going to get traded? Is this the year we finally – because that's been in conversation since his struggles in 2018, I believe it was. His first bad year because he battled some injuries, but he's been battling injuries for 3 years now.
Now here's the flip side to where I will give props to Cubs players here. Chris Bryant won an MVP.
He did win an MVP in 16. Yeah.
Javier Baez, I wanted to get your opinion on him next, but he's had some good seasons in career too. You have Wilson Contreras, Anthony Rizzo. That's four guys right there. To where, if they didn't lose their baseball skills. So, if all these guys stay healthy, there's 4 out of your 9 guys that can really have some damage at the plate.
Yeah.
So, if those guys are healthy and get back to anything to where they were, man, the Cubs could go on a run and win the division.
But, Joe, we've been banking on that since 16. We've been banking on them for producing, and they just haven't gotten the job done. And it's so irritating to watch that because you know how talented they are. You see what happened in 15 and 16 and 17, but all of a sudden they can't do anything. Bryant's in and out of the lineup. He finally gets going, and he gets injured. Rizzo doing Rizzo things, to get on base, hitting home runs, driving in runs. Javier Baez has his moments, and Wilson Contreras is the same way. It's the inconsistency. That's like the worst word you can say for a baseball player. And I always tell this to people that ask me about the Cubs. I said, one day we'll drive in 12 runs, and the next day we'll strike out 12 times and only score 2 runs. I think there's no middle. I would kill for them just to average 4 runs a game.
Yeah.
And they'd be a consistent 4, not just a 12 and then here's a 1.
So what if you could give me an insight onto what you think happened with Baez last year and what you think his season's going to be this year, that would be my last question for you.
For Javi, it really came down to he just trying to do too much.
Yeah.
He swings at pitches out of the zone. He's a free swinger. I give him credit. But when he's controlled and seeing the ball come in and swinging at stuff in the zone, he's one of the best hitting shortstops in the game. Easy. And it's just that he can't stay consistent. He can't focus on one mindset when he gets to that plate. Once he gets to the plate, I don't know which hobby we're going to get. When I see him swing at a slider in the dirt, I just want to shut off the TV and go, all right, here we go again with another Javier Baez strikeout. It's irritating, but I'm just gonna have to sit back and enjoy it. I know we're not gonna do much. I'm just gonna take this approach as the Bulls again this year, not expecting much. But if we win and finish above 500, I'll be okay with it.
Hey, you got Jock Peterson though.
Here's the other funny part. This will be my last thing about the Cubs before we move on to our final subject for this podcast. Don't re-sign Kyle Schwarber. Let him go to Washington. What kind of player was Kyle Schwarber? He's a guy that hit bombs, struck out a lot, wasn't a great fielder. Cubs signed Jock Peterson. Jock Peterson, what kind of player is he? Oh,
Kyle Schwarber.
Doesn't hit for average, hits home runs, strikes out. He's not a bad fielder. He's a much better fielder than Schwarber, but that's not saying much. But all right, okay, we got Jock Peterson. That sounds fantastic. Don't sign Albert Almora. He goes to New York. What kind of player is Albert Almora? All right, well, he's a fantastic fielder, but he couldn't hit. Cubs signed this Mets outfielder named Jake Marisnick. What kind of player is Jake Marisnick? A guy that can hit but can field. We signed the same guys. Same guys. Just different names and, different names and numbers. Oh, my. I saw that and I go, you got to be kidding me. We really just re-signed the same guys for just a little bit cheaper. Man. But, if we can sign some big names down the road and maybe trade off Bryant and I'm really excited to see Jake Arrieta back. He was my favorite player. I enjoy getting to see him pitch, even if he doesn't have a great year. I hope Chicago opens up soon so you can go see your beloved Sox and I can go see Jake Arrieta pitch.
That's my one hope, honestly. That's my biggest concern is that you sit through all these rebuild years of when I can go into the stadium, buy a $5 ticket, and walk all the way down right to the field, basically, and watch those day games where we get blown out 12-0. But now it's like when the time's finally here, it's a question of can I even get into the stadium to watch this team that's going to try and compete for a World Series this year? So I would be sick to my stomach if I didn't even get to see this team that the Sox have. But the good thing is the Sox have these guys signed up for the next 8 to 10 years. So
especially
at some point I'll be able to get to see them.
Well, especially if they go out and they start winning and they get to the playoffs and you're sitting there having to watch every game on TV and in your room, and it's kind of like, oh, that sucks.
The dream's been to get to a playoff game. I want to go to one. This team, man.
But I do want to say this before we get into the final subject is I want everyone to know that Joe got a job with the Memphis Grizzlies.
I appreciate that.
Congratulations to that.
Thank you very much, the kind sir. I appreciate the words there. That means a lot.
Yeah, so for the people that do watch this podcast, just give him a good congratulations below. He worked really hard to get that position.
Absolutely. I appreciate that a lot, Sauce, for bringing some recognition to that. That means a lot, sir.
All right. So I wanted to start this last subject on a lighthearted matter, and now we're going to get a little deep here. Vincent Jackson, a player that you and I both watched, played wide receiver for the San Diego Chargers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He died this month from chronic alcoholism, and then they saw that he was suffering from CTE, which is chronic traumatic encephalopathy. I'm glad I was able to get that last word on the third try.
Better than me
yeah.
on that, sir. I'm glad you had to do that word.
Well, if you don't know, CTE is the disease where your brain starts to really suffocate itself from constant concussions and blows to the head. It's really common in boxers and football players. There's a long list of players that have suffered from this disease. So, Joe, I just want to ask you, when you heard this news that 38-year-old Vincent Jackson had died, what did you think? What went through your mind immediately?
Just that struck feeling of can't believe it, sadness sort of
Yeah.
thing. Where it's like, no matter how he was taken away from us, 38 years old, that's a number that you don't ever want to hear, no matter who it is, even if it's not a football player that I've seen play, or it could be Joe Schmo that I've never met in my life. But to hear a 38-year-old pass away, no matter what it's from, who it is, that's just immediately sadness, because that's not even half your life, man. That you didn't get to live, and I immediately start to think of his family, children, all those sorts of things that don't get to spend the rest of their life with their dad, their husband, their loved ones. So that's immediately the sort of things that start to go through my head, not his football career or anything like that, just how 38 should never be an age to where you should be leaving this earth. It should be an age to where you're celebrating life and doing all the things that life entail. So that was sort of the things that started to go through my head when I heard the news. Not more his football career, but more just life in general. What do you got on your end?
Well, for me, it's just I remember playing those old man video games against my cousin, and he was a big LaDainian Tomlinson fan. Played for the Chargers, so when I'd play him, he'd always run the ball with LT, and I couldn't stop him. But when he decided to do pass, he always threw it to this guy wearing number 83 and Vincent Jackson. So to me, Vincent Jackson always tore me a new one in Madden. So I always thought he was a good player, and he was a good player. He was overlooked because he didn't play for great teams, and never got to play in the big game. But to hear that news, it was just like it had to be CTE. It's the only explanation for someone that's young. And he'd been living in that hotel since January 11th, and this is a guy that made millions playing football for, I believe it was 12 years, 7 with the Chargers, 5 with the Bucks. So that really hit home. And I did a documentary. I've never told you this documentary on CTE when I was in high school. So I know all about this. And humans were not made to play the game of football. I love this game. You see how you and I both get passionate. Humans were not created to play this game. And you can say up and down, oh, helmets are what's that supposed to be getting better, protect you. Joe, helmets were not created to protect our heads. They're protected for facial injuries. People get that confused. The helmets weren't created for our brains to not move when our heads snap, because we have this large piece of, I don't even know what kind of material they're made of, on our heads, and we're getting thrown to the ground, our head's snapping faster, and then our brain is moving. Our brain is in like an empty hole, okay, a fluid, but it doesn't fill up the entire skull. So there's a lot of empty space between our skull and our brain. So when you do hit, the brain is moving and hitting harder against that skull. So now our brain.
You saying that makes me cringe, man.
And I play football, so yeah. If you ever want to get good information about this disease, just watch Concussion with Will Smith. They really talk about it, and it really hits home for football players and football fans. Like, you don't understand what the game can do and why these players are so. They're better off just not playing the game. I hate to say it. No human was made to play this game, like I said before. But I just want to say some things. Like, here's Mike Webster. He played 17 years in the league, 245 games. He was living in his truck. He would have to tase himself to sleep. He would pull out his teeth and then super glue them back in. It's not normal for a human to be doing this. Junior Seau, he killed himself after he played 20 years in the league. Dave Durrison, famous Chicago Bears safety, shot himself in the chest because he wanted to save his brain for research. And then I got 2 more that are kind of controversial. One of them is confirmed. The other one hasn't been confirmed yet, because the only way you can detect CTE is if someone dies. First one was Aaron Hernandez. They said he looked like he was a 60 or 70-year-old Alzheimer's patient. So memory loss. Yeah, it was bad. Like, there's pictures of it. And the other one is because I just watched a show about him. Not confirmed that he has it because he's still alive, and that's O.J. Simpson. That'd be the other one I'd put money on, because he ran the ball 2,404 times in his NFL career in 135 games with the Bills and the 49ers.
Jeez.
So,
and you see I mean, these players aren't dead yet either, but it impacts decisions. Like they take it serious. Two names that
Yes.
immediately come to mind are Kuechly from the
Yes.
Panthers and
Panthers.
Andrew
Yes.
Luck. Like
Yes.
those are two guys who are having successful careers and don't really have many reasons to leave the league. Or you'd be like two names that you'd be like, what? Why would they leave? And I would not doubt if you sat down and had an honest conversation with them, they would say that's probably one of the big reasons they left the league is because they see sad things like this happen and they don't want to do
Yes.
that to their family members.
It's
So,
it's and the worst part is that the NFL doesn't do enough to help these players once they do start to go through this disease. You
yeah.
know, you don't see them giving them the family money or helping the family in any sort of way, and it sucks
Well, the
because
other
I love.
sad part, the other sad thing I view about it too is obviously we love watching this game, but then you have people out there who like are so against the rules that have been put in place to protect head-to-head
Yes.
hits and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And people are so mad about those rules. It's like, okay, do you want this game to be completely taken away from us and to hear news like Vincent Jackson? Like, I'd rather have Vincent Jackson be alive and have somebody be flagged 15 yards for a helmet to helmet so it disincentivizes them from doing it next time than have Vincent Jackson be dead and be able to have players do head-to-head contact to each other. And that's one of
Yeah.
my biggest pet peeves is when people complain about rules like that. It's in place so they can continue to play the game and we can continue to watch it.
Right. Just watch it and enjoy it. And I don't want football to be taken away from us, but I could see definitely a decline in football, Pee Wee signups, people playing high school and college ball and in the NFL because of this disease and the fact
Oh yeah,
that it could hurt them in the long run. Like be taken away from their kids before they even get to grow up and graduate, not have
absolutely.
dad there. And it's very unfortunate because I don't
Yeah,
want the game to be viewed that way, but they have to do more.
yeah,
I know I'm asking a lot for them to keep doing more, but the helmets are not helping. The helmets are not designed to be that way. I think we're better off not even playing with helmets. Just go back to the old leather heads for all I care. Just protect the face. That's all they
yeah,
were designed to do. They weren't designed for. And I think the worst part is that these guys get their helmets on and they believe they're going to protect my head. They're going to protect me from concussion. That's not the case at all. Like there's no way that a helmet that big on your head is going to protect you from suffering a concussion.
yeah, yeah.
It's insane. And
It even like the helmet. If we're talking about helmets and rules and everything, one of the things that I don't know, it just comes to my mind right away is you're not even talking helmet to helmet hits. You're just talking. You could even be talking head to ground hits, to
yeah,
where these guys like the first thing that comes to mind is, oh God, I don't know if what whoever the Baltimore Raven, I think it was the Bills when they were playing the Bills and Lamar Jackson fell back and banged his head on the
yes,
ground.
yes,
That was a
yes,
perfectly clean tackle, but it even led to him. You look at the Mahomes hit. That wasn't a dirty hit at all by the Cleveland
no,
Browns player. He just moved his head weird enough to where he didn't know where the heck he was when he stood up. Like that's scary, dude. That's scary. There wasn't even like that's a type of move where if you were to show me no hit or anything, and you just show me the way Mahomes got up, I'm like, oh, there had to be a bang, head-to-head smack. And then it's even scary to be like, wow, that didn't even look like anything happened, and he's looking like that. That just shows how scary it can be, man.
and we're talking professional. It happens on the first hit. And once you get that first hit when you're in Pee Wee, head-to-head contact, it's just a snowball effect. Pee Wee, high school, college, and then the NFL. I mean, Aaron Hernandez only played 3 years in the NFL, and his brain was bad. I'll have
Like
to
you
send it
said,
to you after this.
humans aren't
No,
designed to do this.
look at these different animals. You have the Rams. The Rams have a protective layer that protect their brains. The hummingbird, who hits their head more than any other animal, their tongue wraps around their brain so it doesn't move around. Humans don't have that. We don't have a protective layer for our brain. Our brain's going to hit our skulls, and that's where the concussion comes from. What happens is you hit your brain, and it releases these cells that I'm just this is how I remember it. The cells break up, and then they release something that goes to our brainstem, and it chokes it off. It's like putting cement down a kitchen, the sink. The water's not going to go down the sink anymore. It's just going to flood. So now your brain is starting to choke itself and to start to really just to decay. And humans can live off without hands and legs and and feet. Once that brain goes, your body doesn't know what to do. It just goes into a constant neurological pain.
Yeah. You described it perfectly, and I'm glad we have conversations like this on our podcast, because I think it's stuff that needs to be seriously taken. I mean, no jokes all set aside, fun all set aside. We love the game, obviously. Huge. You've heard us talk about the Bears on this podcast before, and you see Sauce's hats and flags. We love the Bears. We love the game. I love getting up every Sunday and watching football. But when it comes to news like Vincent Jackson, it's like, man, it just kind of makes you think about stuff. And I'm glad we talk about it too. So I hope everybody got something out of us talking about that.
It's just raising awareness for people to know that this isn't going away. Just because the game's becoming safer, and as you said, we're adding more penalties. Helmet's supposed to be getting better, more protective. It's not going to be going away anytime soon, and we have to prepare for that. And is playing football at a professional level worth your life after you're done? I bet Vincent Jackson would have said, "I won't play football if he knew I took my life at 38."
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad. Like I said, I'm glad we covered this, and I hope people got. I know we kind of ended on a darker note, but
as you said, we have to have this conversation.
Yeah, and I'm glad we talked about it, and I hope people get out of it what we put into it. And I had another great time with you, talking on here about multiple subjects. Always fun, absolutely always fun. Looking forward to this baseball season starting. Looking forward to our projections podcast. I know I definitely got some projections that'll shake up the boat here, but. I always have a great time. I hope everybody enjoys it. Like us on Twitter, follow us on YouTube, ring that bell, send it to your friends, family, whoever you think would get a kick out of it. Like we just showed here, obviously we talked Bulls, Sox, and Cubs, but we also talked news, like the unfortunate news of Vincent Jackson. We do everything on here. So I hope you guys all enjoy. I have a great time on here. I hope that the people listening have half as fun as I have on this podcast. So thank you all very much. And I had a great time and another great episode.
Yeah, I have to agree with Joe. Just do what he said. And we'll see you next time on Sauce and Hensch.